How's it going, YouTube? Andreas here, and today I'm gonna analyze a big tournament hand from the WSOP Europe main event between Maria Ho and Niall Farrell. If you want to know something more about big decision in tournament poker, stay tuned. Here is where the situation really starts. We have Kemper raising it up with 34k, a flat from Big Niall on the button. Then Farrell finds ace-king in the small blind to squeeze it to almost 10 big blinds, and Maria Ho has pocket tens in the big blind. So Maria Ho makes a call, and after she has put in 152,000 chips, Big Niall and Kempe come along, and we do go to the flop. The board comes check 10-7 with 3 hearts, and Farrell jams all in with the nut flush draw and a gut shot. Maria Ho has to call for her tournament life, all her chips, and you know, she has to figure out what Farrell's range would be. Let's have a look at the ranges that are in play. You got pocket tens, you get a board over here in the Equilab that you can download for free online. And basically the range of Farrell is going to be aces, kings, queens, ace, king offsuit, ace, queen offsuit, and ace, jack offsuit, all with the ace of hearts. He could have pocket jacks, but I discounted it. I have 2 out of 3 combinations because he could choose a different sizing on the flop, then push all in. I also have 3 out of 4 very viable nut flushes that are in his range. He can't have ace jack of hearts or ace ten of hearts because that's already on the board, but he could have ace queen of hearts, king queen of hearts, and ace five of hearts, but that's already very generous to put in his range because, again, he could really choose a different sizing. I mean, what do you do if you have the flop nut flush if the board comes check 10-7 of hearts? Do you really push all in for balance reasons, or do you choose a different sizing like half pot or like, you know, 40% of the pot to induce more action of your opponents? I think it's rather true that you're betting a smaller sizing a lot of the time. So this is basically a good scenario for Maria Ho to be in. And, you know, she could be even having more equity than this here. She has 55.5% of equity. So Maria Ho has about 55-56% of equity, and you can see that she has 20% more equity than she actually needs here.
This is going to be the biggest pot of the tournament. He's not doing it with nothing. I think that's safe to say. Wow.
Folding here with 20% of more equity is actually not the way to go. Sure, you might want to save your tournament life sometimes, but having 20% more equity here is you're just never going to be that much better than your opponents. This is like folding pocket kings just because your opponent shows you an ace and you know that you're going to have 70% of equity most likely, and you just never would do that. Almost never. I mean, if like you have 10 short stacks and you're the second biggest stack, you can fold range, I guess, but other than that, in a normal tournament situation, when you have 70% of equity, you get the money in. Here, it's the same thing. You needed 36% of equity because there's money in the pot, and you actually had 20% of more. Even though it would mean that 45% of the time you're out of the tournament, 55% of the time you're the big cheap leader and then can use that chip stack advantage even more to your favor. So in those, you know, near final table situations, you can think that sometimes you want to fold a hand that is just a slight favorite, but also have a look at the pot, have a look at, you know, what could happen if you do win the hand, and, you know, try to find out how much more equity you have than you actually need. There's really one alternative to what has happened in this hand, and that is planning the hand out pre-flop in a better way. If you don't want to put in your chips when you do flop a set with pocket tens, then look at your stack size before the flop. Know that you don't want to invest 16% of your stack to flop a set and then fold. You also know that by flanning the pocket tens, you're gonna get into a lot of tough spots. Remember, there's 2 people behind you that can call you, and you're gonna have to face tough decisions when the board comes check 3 deuce, queen 3 deuce. and all those boards when there's only one overcard, which is already not that bad of a flop for your hand with pocket tens. Seeing two overcards, obviously an easy fold, but I mean, on a check 3 deuce board, you actually have quite an okay hand, but having, you know, that many opponents with strong ranges, you're not going to be feeling comfortable if you even face a small bet with pocket tens here. So my suggestion is that if you ever get into a spot like this, you know, fold the hand pre-flop unless you're really willing to put in all their chips when you know you have your opponent beat. And you really have to know that on this check 10, 7 of hearts boards that you're ahead. And there's so much money in the pot, you know that you don't need 50% equity. You know more or less like what your risk premium is in the hand, how many short stacks are around. So plan the hand better before the flop and then act accordingly post-flop when you do make one of your great hands. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to know more about ICM and tournament situations like this, I suggest that you buy the Raise Your Edge Tournament Masterclass. It's in the description below, and you can find out there what risk premium you usually have in different situations in tournament poker. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed the content, and see you for the next one.